Well, hello. I haven't done one of these in a while. I always say that. It's always we haven't done one of these in a while because we haven't done one of these in a while. And Gundam Blade already throwing spears. Hopefully his camera works. I had to abandon the Sony. I don't know what's going on with that. I guess it's overheating. I don't know what the thing is. It was doing. So I went back to the old Logi, which is fine. What's up, JD? Good morning. It's been a while since we've done a mover mailbag. I'm all by my lonesome here with Luna mean mugging me in the corner. So I actually don't have any mail. So it's a weird mover mailbag. I don't have physical mail. I do have to go to the post office today, but I don't know that anything came in. But yeah. But I do have some emails that I can read and talk about. And of course, our subscribers, CC Pounder, what's happening? This may be the last video of the year. No, we'll see. Maybe. It's definitely the last one before Christmas. Unless I film something tomorrow. But I got to go to training on Sunday. And Luna and I will be gone for 10 days. 10 whole days. God. Yeah. Definitely different, but it's weird. I'm not used to just talking to myself. It's usually Gonky, Doug. I think Wombat is going to fill in because I'm going to miss the Mover and Gonky show on the 29th because that is when the check ride is to get recalled in the 787. So I will miss this show. I'll be in the hotel on Monday night. So playing planes, train. It's not just road tripping. We're driving from here to Dallas on Sunday and then training for 3 days and then driving to my stepmom's house, which is like a 6-hour drive from there. And then 2 days, or sorry, 1 day, really, just Christmas. And then the 26th, driving back to Dallas, finish a train in 27, 28, 29th, driving back on the 30th. So, yeah. Let's see. From the audience. Gundam Blade, thank you for that. GoFund camera. And what's wrong with this camera? This is a Logi MX Brio. It's a nice camera. It's 4K. Renee says, Merry Christmas to you and Luna. Merry Christmas. Santa Paws is back. You going to go back to flying the line? No. Hi, Mover, says Chili. What's up, Chili? From down under. With all the spiders. She's got a lot of creepy critters down there. There will be an ornament for your tree. Is that today? Well, then I missed it for this mailbag. I'll go check and see. Because I've got to go there. What's up, Merry Christmas, Mover and Luna from Robin? Don't blame you. Yeah. I'm not going to say anything, but there's a better than average chance that the Manchester from 2020 actually finally happens. When Gonky slapped me. What's up, Bravo Sierra? Yes. Yeah, it's like a 2,000-mile adventure, which I hope my oil life monitor is correct because it says I've got 38%. And so hoping to stretch that out for this trip. Otherwise, I'm going to have to figure out how to do the oil change on the road, which will be a pain in the ass. But Dallas is going to be great weather. Yeah, but I won't get to enjoy it because I'll be at the schoolhouse in classrooms or simulators the whole time. So let's see. It's Jeremy. Got my PPL and F-16 crew chief. Awesome. Good for you, man. Good for you. 10 days of Lunimus. Yeah. Thoughts on Greg Biffle's incident? God, I'm honestly affected. You know, I'm shaken up. I'm not shaken up, but I'm very sad about the incident. I know Blanco Lirio put out a video. We'll probably talk about it Monday on the show. If you look at the track, the weather was bad. I don't know. We could take a look at it if you guys want, but it's horrific. It's horrible. I guess it's always different when it's a celebrity or whatever, but he was obviously very popular on Cletus's channel and was very big into being a humanitarian, which is cool, using helicopters in awesome ways, which I thought was awesome. I think he had an R-44 and R-66, one of those two. And you just don't expect this, and then his beautiful family. His entire family of 4, plus the Delta guy who was flying and his son and the motorhome guy. It's terrible. Just terrible. Thanks, Robin. Yeah, a lot of traveling. Any more training on the police helicopter? Yeah, I'm fully qualified. So I'm gonna have to do not recurrent, but a refresher, I guess, when I get back, because it's been a while since I've flown. But I am fully qualified there. Why do I hear the theme song for Smokey and the Bandit when thinking about that road trip? I don't know. I use Waze and drive responsibly. It's awesome is that AT4's got the Super Cruise, so it's gonna definitely make that trip a lot better. It's a picture ornament of Luna for the tree. Oh, that's awesome. You guys see the tree, right? Right here. Hope it fits, so to speak. +1 on the safe travels. Happy holidays, despite being mostly on remote locations. Yeah, hotel life sucks. It's just terrible. Been a hard year in aviation. Greg was such an awesome person. Yeah, and it's not like he was out there taking risks with stuff. Everything he did was pretty controlled and pretty reasonable. He was taking risks on the racetrack, but as far as in aviation, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. Yeah, we could take a look at it. Hold on. Because I was looking at the replay earlier, and it's definitely confusing. That's what I'll say. We'll look at what they might ask. Investigators might ask, because it's a citation. It was the 550, I think. And I talked to T-Bear, because he's actually qualified, or he was qualified, or used to fly those. And he was telling me on that citation, you lose an engine, I think you don't get the autopilot. They can be certified single pilot, but if you look at the thing, his was with SIC only. So you had to have somebody second in command, but second in command does not mean they're type rated. So, man, but this is the track. No, I could do that one. This is the track. And they took off. Somebody heard a bang. They made the left turn. I don't know if this part was planned, but somebody purported hearing some kind of bang or a loud noise. And then they turn. This part confuses me, because, again, I'm only airline trained, right? Part 121, which the PIC was airline trained too, even with this type rating or whatever. But I know the weather was pretty bad, and the visibility was less than 2 miles and getting worse. The ceilings were less than 1,000 feet and getting worse. But if it were an engine failure for me, right, it would not be an immediate turn unless there's some terrain. But I don't think there's any terrain out here that could be a factor. Because like in the 787 or 737, you lose the engine, you're just climbing straight ahead. And sometimes it can take a while, as long as you've got your climb gradients met, which you should. Even, they had 7 passengers, probably were pretty heavy. You should. And then once you get everything, the initial checklist stuff, then you start a turn to downwind and start setting up for the approach. This looks like an immediate return. Like, I mean, it's almost like a teardrop because they turn and he's like, oh, I'm too tight on the field. And then he turns back this direction. He's overshot final right here. So he climbs and then descends and then climbs. I don't understand this part, and I think it's the investigators are going to have to look at the why. You know, whether this is a factor of just hand flying it and getting behind the aircraft while you're running checklists, or if there was something else going on, like smoke in the cockpit, fire in the cockpit, fire somewhere else, some urgency. Because if it's just like an engine failure, there's no immediate urge in a twin engine aircraft that has power like this to get on the ground. Like you can smoke a lucky, go somewhere else. Like there's no immediate need to get back unless there's something else going on, uncontained fire, smoke in the cockpit, stuff like that, where you want to get on the ground. I know the Greg Biffle's wife texted her mom, because her mom came out and said this, that we're not okay. Something went wrong, but we don't have any details beyond that. So anyway, this is all very confusing to me as far as like this turn right here, because now we're turning back to the airport. And I would imagine they're in instrument meteorological conditions right here. So if you go look at the approaches, this direction, so runway 10's got RNAV approaches, does not have an ILS. The only way to do an ILS is to come back opposite direction, runway 28, which is fine, uncontrolled field. I don't know if they were talking to approach. I mean, that's what I would be doing, is talking to approach, especially here. You know, you're taking off an untowered or a non-towered field, uncontrolled field. You're either calling on the phone and getting your clearance with approach or center, whoever you're talking to, or you're on their frequency getting your approach and clearance, and then you switch to them when you're airborne after you make your announcements or whatever. But if it seems like logically they would have been under vectors here, and it's surprising to me nobody's pulled ATC tapes on that yet, you know, because all these flight aware and all that stuff, they're really pretty fast about it, and I haven't seen that yet. But I would think they were, they'd be talking to somebody, because this almost looks like somebody that's trying to get back to a field as soon as possible, not talking to anybody, because ATC is going to vector them for the ILS. It's going to look like a square or a rectangle. It'll look like a rectangle. Like it'll look squared off here, and then they'll turn crosswind, then it'll be downwind, then it'll be up. Like, and it'll be way out here to the final approach fix. It's not going to be what you're about to see here. Yeah, self-vectoring, CC Pounder says, and that's kind of what I was thinking here. This looks like they're kind of doing their own thing. So they go super tight to the field, which almost tells me they were thinking about maybe this is like a contact approach. Maybe they see the ground and they're trying to stay visual with the ground, because it looks like they get tight and they're thinking about going to runway 10 and then change their mind, square it off, and are visual with the field. This looks like a visual maneuver to me. If you look at the altitude, I don't think it's on here, but there's another representation of it. They're super low. I mean, 400 feet-ish as they turn base, which is way too low for any turbine aircraft turning base. I mean, this is a lot of altitude deviation going on here, and I don't understand it. And then they kind of go, okay, I'm a little tight. He jinks out, turns. This base turn is like at 400 feet. I saw another thing it was like 400 feet, that's a Navy base turn at a boat. Like that's way too low. You're way below glide path to intercept the ILS on a bad weather day. And then here, you know, he's dragged in 200 feet and he just gets slow 95 knots and gets into the trees. And that's where it stops. The last data point, I think, is 95 knots. So something was going on in the cockpit, and I don't know what it was, obviously, and an investigation is going to have to look into what that is. Whether that's they were getting, because sometimes, if there's smoke, if there's a fire, uncontained fire or something, it could get in the bleed air system and end up in the cabin. So they might have been on masks. We talked about that with Southwest, where they had that uncontained engine failure, something like that. Or if it's just simple pilot error, or they just got behind the aircraft. It's impossible to really know, and you don't really want to speculate, pilot error this early, because obviously, people are grieving, and we don't know. The reality is, it sucks. Greg Biffle and his beautiful family are gone. The pilot and his son are gone. The motorhome driver is gone. 7 people lost their lives in a very tragic and unfortunate accident. So I don't know. But this is just, it's a non-standard. Whatever's happening here, they felt the sense of urgency, and they were not, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. This does not look like, to me, normal vectoring, talking to approach, getting vectored to the ILS. This looks like they're trying to do their own self-contained thing and trying to get on the ground as quick as possible. So prayers for the family, and, the families of the families, right? Everybody who lost. And, for Cletus, I know he was good friends with Greg Biffle. That was a big part of his channel and his NASCAR upbringing. And that's a tough one. That's a tough one to lose a mentor like that. A tough one to lose a good friend like that. Just, it's terrible. Let's see. From the welcome, Haas. Thanks for joining us. What's westbound, not eastbound? I must have missed that one. Just scrolling back up. Yeah, it has been a rough year in aviation for sure. Haven't seen any live Twitch games with you and Doug. Yeah, we haven't done one. Doug has kind of prioritized his family, which I totally support. And so that has limited our available days to do it. And I've kind of been like, well, I did the Cleared Hot or whatever solo, and I'm trying not to, spend too much time doing gaming. Although I did just buy the NASCAR 25 game, which I think is going to be fun. But yeah, maybe next year we might do some more. We'll see. Witness report seeing a smoke trail behind the plane as it approached the airports, and maybe there was a fire. Yeah, but according to T-Bear, it's got 2 fire bottles. So fire goes out, you're still okay. Like, you're just single engine at that point. So, like, you don't ever want to rush yourself to the point that you make a bad situation worse. Gonky was talked about in the Navy. They talked about no fast hands in the cockpit. Your goal is to get it all suitcased, come up with a plan, and land, because, well, you got 2 engines. If both engines are having problems, like the Jeju thing, that's a different story. I don't think that applies here, because the profile does not look like this is a 2-engine problem. But it could be. I mean, he could have been having indications, been like, hey, I got to get this thing on the ground. Problem is there a flight data recorder? Is there a black box? I don't think so. I don't know. The investigators are going to have a lot of work ahead of them. Yeah, I don't think they do. Angie, been a while since I caught a live, past midnight here. Oh, thanks, Angie. Yeah, CC Pounder self-vectoring for sure. That is true. I agree with you on that, but the weather would probably dictate either you stay visual or you pick up some kind of approach. The quick return obviously would have been the land the direction you took off, which it looks like they initially thought about and then went the opposite direction. I'm just saying the only logic to me go the opposite direction is potentially that ILS, but they didn't use that. So, or, he did, when he gets to that dog leg, he's like, well, I'm better suited here. You don't know what they were thinking. I mean, unless we get the tapes, we're not going to know. Keeping the field, I think it was actually deteriorating worse than that. I think it started at like 600 or 800. Hold on, I have that actually. I was just talking to Wombat about that. The weather got worse as they progressed. It didn't start, of course. Why wouldn't it? So the weather at the time, METAR at 1515 was winds calm, 5 statute miles, drizzle, heavy drizzle, broken at 1200, broken at 2200, overcast at 5000. And then it deteriorated to 1.75 miles, heavy rain, scattered at 400, which could even easily be broken, depending on where he was in the pattern. Overcast at 1,000. I just like, that's the kind of thing where you go, I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm either going to pick up the ILS or I'm going somewhere else. Unless I have to get on the ground right now and fire, smoke in the cockpit, fire in the cockpit, something else going on would drive that. But if I'm just dealing with a single engine or a single engine fire and the fire went out and there's no lights, I'm going somewhere with rescue equipment and stuff and the pilot was not inexperienced. The guy flying was a Delta captain or Delta FO on the wide body, either retired or still doing it, and a retired Air Force Reserve pilot. So this is not somebody that's new to aviation or anything like that. So you have to trust that, or at least you have to think that whatever was going on, he had a good reason to do what he did. We just don't know what that is. We just don't know. There's a lot of questions on this. Visual gives you better chance. Dude, if the instruments are faulty, you're dead anyway. If you're in the weather, I 100% don't agree with that, because like when we do this in the wide body or the 7.3, the whole thing's an instrument maneuver, the entire thing. There's no way you would try to do a contact approach and stay visual with the runway. There's just no reason to. You have to trust your instruments. I mean, otherwise, why were you flying this thing in the first place? Now, if he took off and was spatially D'd, and I mean, maybe, but I just don't buy that one. And we will. I mean, it's not the blame game, and we will dissect it and learn from it, but it's just too early. Like, the NTSB hasn't even, we're still there. It happened yesterday. It happened yesterday. This is very preliminary. The NTSB will issue their preliminary report, and then a year or two later, they'll do their final report. Yes, it's officially 7 lives lost. Yeah, it could be. T-Bane says, I've gone down a long line helicopter YouTube rabbit hole. Is that something you'd ever be interested in trying? No, that's a job. I don't do that. Rochelle says, terrible news. I agree. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Yeah, you just gotta, I mean, dude, I've done this hundreds of times in simulator events. I've done this in real life in fighters. I've had engine failures and compressor stalls and all that stuff. And you have to trust the system. I mean, you have to trust your training. You have to trust the system. So my instinct, my gut tells me something else was going on, something we don't know about. And we will find that out as the investigation goes on. I don't want to throw them under the bus without the information. Now, if it does turn out that this is just pilot error, then it's just pilot error and we're going to learn from it. But Renee would like to know, what does Luna do while you're showboating with the MiG? She's the Wizzo. So currently she's sleeping. My boss was an instructor at the test pilot school. Yeah, no fast hands in the cockpit. Coming west, Smoking the Bandit song is Eastbound and Down. Got it. Well, eventually I'll go back eastbound and down. Well, the weather was really bad, James. So it could be a combination of both. But any one factor, remember Swiss cheese, right? It's always a bunch of things that add up to one thing. So, bad weather, smoke in the cockpit, engine failure, engine fire. It could be as simple as something happened and they needed to early return and either got disoriented or just gotten the get there itis and lost. It's hard to believe that. It's really hard to believe that, but we've seen stranger things, right? It wouldn't be the first time we've seen inexplicable actions out of very senior and very experienced pilots. So that's tough. I did complete PME. I did ACSC earlier this year. I don't know if we're going to see Lieutenant Colonel Mover. You might see Mr. Mover, but I don't know. We'll see. Waiting for the results. I wouldn't say that. I mean, basing out of an uncontrolled field is not by itself a problem. Obviously it's generally cheaper, hangar space, all that stuff. It has its benefits. I don't think that's the problem here, because you can always go somewhere else, right? If you take off, lose an engine, okay, hey, approach, Cessna, whatever, citation, whatever, declare an emergency, mayday, 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 request vectors to, whatever the nearest field is with ARF and divert. I mean, just divert to where there's better weather. If there's not better weather, better facilities, because that's part of your land as soon as possible doesn't necessarily mean first piece of concrete. It's most suitable first piece of concrete, which if I need ARF or if I need something, because think about it. You take off, you got a firelight, okay? Engine one. Well, this place probably does not have ARF on standby, the fire rescue, firefighting. So if I get that fire out and I'm worried about something else and there's a suitable airport with fire trucks on, our second responders, if you will, on the field, I might go there. Now, if I think it's going to burn through uncontained, yeah, I'm putting it on the first piece of concrete. But if there's more suitable with another instrument approach or something like that, I may accept the risk of taking a little bit longer just to go to a place that's a little bit more suitable. It just depends. You just don't know. Yeah, I agree. It's just a discussion. I mean, it's just questions. It's very hard to, we judge this at 1G, 0 knots. JD says prayers for everyone involved. He was a great man, did so much for others. I agree. And we can, I hope they end up doing the humanitarian award in his honor, but I wish they didn't have to. That's it. It honestly, he says it feels worse when you know how much of a stand-up dude this guy was. It feels worse, but it's like, it's still hard to believe. It's still, because you just remember hearing something about him a couple days ago and all the good stuff he was doing. And it just feels so sudden and, like it's very tough. It's just tough. Pedo cover and botch return? Yeah, maybe. I guess. It's news when Mover goes to the post office. Thanks, MJ. Sad part is we never get to the why. That is a good point. I trust in the investigative team, but they have their work cut out for them. The data is there's a lot that needs to be peeled back on this onion. What happened? We don't know. I mean, other than if you're asking what we're talking about, it's Greg Biffle's crash yesterday. Mutt Dog says, Mover, I'm a retired SWO, and your assessment of the friendly fire incident was correct. Training is a longstanding monumental problem in the surface days. That's terrible. I'm sorry that you guys have that problem. I think it's a problem across the board. And the fact that we lost a jet is both good and bad, right? Because we could have lost people, and that's the good part is we didn't. But the bad part is, come on, man, we shot down our own jet. It's terrible. Yeah, you got to feel for Cletus. I mean, and it puts a damper on everything because this weekend was supposed to be some event that Biffle was going to. And now, everything going forward is going to be, it's tough, man. I feel for him. What do I think about the Chinese bots that flood your comments? Yeah, well, I mean, it helps the algorithm, but they do not, their English translators are mostly broken because they think we say stuff that we don't. I always find it interesting how a lot of the trolls and bots, even not just China, other countries as well, their go-to is jealousy. They believe that if you say anything about whatever, which is a very low IQ take. I mean, that's a very primal, you think everybody's jealous that doesn't agree with you. I'll be honest. When it comes to drones and stuff like that, I'm not jealous. I don't care because there was no scenario in this world where I get into that kind of nerd stuff and care about your drone and how your drone flies. Like I can't be jealous of something I don't care about. And even the jets, like we look at the J-20 or the Su-57 or whatever, I'm not jealous. I mean, I flew F-16s. I enjoyed it. I probably, won't fly a fighter again. That doesn't enter my mind. I say what I say because it's what I think. And if I think it's cool, I'll say it's cool. If I think it's air show nonsense, I'll say it's air show nonsense. We're not going to talk about stuff that could get us in jail. So they call us dogfight brothers because that's kind of what we talk a lot about. But that's because this is YouTube. This is not a vault. It's not secret. We're not going to get into the stuff that we've been training on for the last 20 years. We get into the stuff that we can talk about because that's as far as it goes. So I say keep going because, it helps us out, but it does kind of inflate the subscriber numbers a little bit because, it's not real people. Some airports have a 10-year wait for a hangar. Yes. Around here, it's same thing. MJ, you're absolutely correct. It is tough I was on a list and I got called and I was like, well, I don't have a hangar. I don't have an airplane. But it is absolutely tough to get hangar space in some of these areas, especially around here. Renee says maybe the pilot had a medical emergency. That's an interesting idea. Maybe not. The only reason I'll say maybe not is because the Greg Biffle's wife made that text about we're in trouble and they heard the bang. The bang, usually pop, bang, buzz. That's a engine compressor, something given loose or letting loose. It's a tough one. Yeah. The fact that Greg's wife texted her mother saying they're in trouble means it was something significant enough the packs were aware, which you would be, right? It's not a big cabin. It's not like you're in the back of a Airbus. You can see everything that's going on. I don't even know if there's a curtain. That's true, Eric, especially high profile. If there's a current, they may look at the single pilot SIC required stuff for the 550. That could be a thing. Without the CP, we would not have the Dogfight Brothers. That's correct. And the Dogfight Brother Invitational on the 27th. So sign up. That will be on the High Alpha Hooligan channel. We're going to do a live stream for charity. So please join us. Hawkeye says, tough times for family, close friends, and fans of Greg Biffle in general. Not to mention the loss of good people. Yeah. Yeah. My drone is bigger than your drone. Yeah. I just don't get excited about that kind of stuff. Like, I don't care. Why would I care about that? But everybody's like, it's jealousy. Like, no, it's not. Jealousy requires me to care. Holly Movie Star says, no Chinese bot is competition for dogfight, brother. That's right. Oz says, goddamn, just get up to speed. Hope Cletus is doing okay. This is rough to get when something happens to friends when they're on their way to. Absolutely. 100%. I agree with you. What's up, Brent? Gundam says, any upcoming episodes of Movie Ruins movies or AI stories with famous Captain Viper? Wow. So as fun as those are, they are a huge flop. The Movie Ruins movies, Beverly Hills Cop, was a complete, like, YouTube just crushed it. You know, it says fewer subscribers are choosing to watch this video. And even the AI one didn't do very well. Hopefully taking some time off, coming back in January, we'll reset, new day, new jet, and be able to do fun stuff again. But yeah, drone nerds. So we do have some emails I wanted to get to that I will share with you. And we will talk about some stuff people have sent me. All right. Chris says, good morning. I recently began instructing airmen with initial pilot training program at a school in Texas. I listened to your segment about the IPT program and your opinion that it won't be effective. I don't necessarily disagree, but I'm a civilian and have little insight in Air Force training and how it would differ from what we're doing as civilian IPs. Either way, this is how they're receiving training, so we have to do our best. Any advice would be appreciated. God. Well, the first part is, I think it's awesome, Chris, that you know that you don't know what you don't know. Here's the thing. It's not that it's better or worse. Those are things to argue later. The problem is it's different. Air Force pilot training is not about so much the flying as it is the mentality and learning how to do it the military way. I had 200 plus hours when I went to pilot training, and the flying is totally different. The training is totally different. The quality of civilian training is all over the place. Like, you can go one place and get a CFI that has former military background. They want to do it the former military way, or they've never touched them. Like, I remember when I got my ATP, my CFI got fired in the air. Like, he was literally texting his boss and said, oh, I just got fired. And that's the civilian. That's civilian life. That's how it is. The structure of that, and then the guy they replaced him with was actually a former or current retired military guy, and we spoke the same language. But the military bearing, the military discipline, right? Stand up, where we stand up in front of the entire class and say, I'll maintain aircraft control, analyze situation, take proper action, land as soon as conditions permit. That kind of stuff, that pressure, you can't get from a civilian school. The tabletop emergency procedures, you don't really get from a civilian school. And a civilian aircraft is not like a T6 or a T-38. You know, you don't strap onto an ejection seat. You're not wearing all the stuff. You might be wearing flip-flops and t-shirt for all I know. You're just not getting the military stuff. And I think where it does them a disservice is you're giving them these ratings, but the Air Force does it different. And so then they have to go to Air Force pilot training and learn it the Air Force way. So we're just doubling down our efforts. You're giving them a little bit of air sense, but it's so different. And they're missing out on the most important stuff, which is that baseline discipline. The baseline discipline of, I need to know my ops limits. I need to know my boldface. I need to, be able to recite the procedures without referencing a checklist, blind cockpit checks, all that stuff. Like, I need to have that cold by the time I get in that airplane. And then the pressure of the brief, the structured brief, the flight, the debrief, all that stuff is important to pilot training and building an Air Force pilot. You take that away and you're just a dude you might as well be going to Delta. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean it's bad training. It just means it's not Air Force training. And we start this process in T6s because it builds. You start in T6, you start getting that single seat mentality. I got to make decisions. I got to fly formation. I got to worry about my wingman. I got to worry about what's next. Near rocks, far rocks, check lead, check 6. And then I go to the T38, and now I'm doing that same thing, but faster, a lot faster. And then I go from the T38, which flies like nothing we have because it's outdated. And then I've got to go do it in F-16 that'll pull 9Gs, put me to sleep, and kill me. That kind of stuff cannot be taught at a civilian FBO or school, because most of those schools, you know what they care about is making money. It's about profit. It's about their time value of money and extracting the most amount for this contract. It is not the same as having a military IP who can sit down with you and say, dude, I did this in the F-16. I did this in the F-22. I did this in the C-17. Like, to bring back the real world experience from whatever it is they did. Now, FAPEs exist, but the FAPE, at least when they're teaching you, they just did what you did. They just went through it and they can go, yep, I just struggled on this ride just like you. I'm a FAPE. We're kind of almost peers. The civilian IP has no idea, has none of that, has no experience, especially, he says fresh CFI. So you've got a fresh CFI with minimal experience doing this job. It is a disservice to that pilot in the Air Force. That's my opinion. I don't think it's a good plan. Let's see. Angry pilot, Army pilot emails. No, nothing lately. Army's been leaving me alone lately. No way, it was hilarious. Yeah, it's just the algorithm, man. That's the way things are. Yeah. Are you talking about them getting fired? Yeah, he got fired. Who gets fired where that's in the air? Yeah, well, this guy did. And then they had the knockdown drag out in the FBO, and it was like mom and dad were fighting. It was awful. Liver ruins Iron Eagle. Yeah, and I asked like Grok, right? ChatGPT or whatever, like why? Why is it? And well, part of it's the algorithm, because YouTube has deprioritized. Because, back when I used to do it, I was one of the first, if not the first. And that made it a cool and fun, and, it was kind of a thing. Now everybody does it. And the copyright stuff, even though you win the copyright battle, YouTube deprioritizes it. While I agree there's stuff to be learned in the civilian world, I don't think it's enough to justify it. Like, you're going to learn stuff. It's just not the stuff you're going to need that you can't get flying the T6. It's just a different world. Capstar, yes. However, they should have been talking to either approach or center. So there should be a ATC. They should have been under ATC control because of IFR. They shouldn't have been VFR with that weather. Angie says, writing anything new? Yes, I am glad you asked this question. Got Project Virtus for diving a liveaboard in the middle of nowhere next week. No mobile signal at all. So reading. Well, thank you for reading. So first off, I'm working on strategies. For the longest time, I have been hesitant to promote my books because it has been the source of angst, right? I went to an interview for an A-10 squadron, and they said that, my books were me making money off the backs of my bros, which could have been further for the truth because I barely make any money off of the books anyway. And a lot of people throughout my military career have had negative assumptions about it, thinking that I'm this rich author that is using the military as for the book stuff, which is wrong. Anybody who's read my books knows that's not true. So I've been hesitant to advertise it, market it, even talk about it, toot my own horn, if you will, because it's kind of got that stigma. Well, it's time to change, right? Because that's wrong. That's a wrong mentality. Other people's insecurities should not drive my successes or failures in writing. So I started working on a strategy to start promoting them better and being more of a writer, because I've always wanted to be a full-time author. And with 12 books, pretty damn close to it, right? It's just a matter of positioning. So everything now, one of the things I found was that draft to digital really wasn't doing much for me, and moved everything to Kindle Unlimited, which will allow people to, I guess they call them borrow the book, which should get more exposure and help in that regard. I am working on finishing. I just finished writing chapter 67 on the Project Virtus sequel, so book 2. And after that's done, I'm going to publish that hopefully around March, April timeframe. And in between, whatever, I'm working on a novella for a concept that I've had that we were going to make into a TV series, but that's kind of bogged down. So I was going to write a novella about it to see if I could juice that up. And then my other plan was to pick back up from where the Alex Shepard / Spectre series ended, with a new character and a new perspective, and pick that series back up again. I don't know if Spectre will be involved directly. I mean, dude's had a rough life. He's had a lot going on. But for Alex Shepard and Kruger, I kind of left that on a cliffhanger. And so, and then Project Virtus book 3. So got a lot of writing projects ahead that I'm planning. And my goal in 2026 is to do better at that. Do better at the marketing, do better at the writing, do better at the being an author. Don't half-ass it, whole-ass it. So I'm going to whole-ass it this year. Doug, if you've never done, it's totally different, man. I'm if you're just a civilian, you just don't know what you don't know. I can't, I've done both, and it's not the same. It's just not. Just because you've done what you consider a brief, debrief, and boldface is not the same as the way the military does it. And nor should it be. It's not, I know a lot of people, they see this, they hear me talk about this, they're like, well, I did it this way and it's just as good. I'm not saying what you did is bad. I'm not saying your training wasn't good, but we need to speak the same language throughout. And the baseline for pilot training is what's going to get them through their entire career. Start with a good baseline. Start with what they need to know, because eventually, you're right, they may need to do the civilian stuff, and then they're going to have to relearn it the civilian way, because it's different. I've done them both. It's not the same. T6 is quite a bit faster than a Seminole. Thanks, Hawkeye. Appreciate that. Need to punch him in the face. Kate, I agree. Just a terrible, terrible thing. So the fighter world is just a sorority, and especially the old guard, which mostly is gone now. There's a lot of, you stand out, you're a threat to me, you did something different than I did, I think you might be better than me, whatever. They want to crush that. They want to crush anything that is different and non-standard. Autocross says, I learned from an ex-Air Force guy, moved to fly with Cassie in Laos, right? Nearly 3 decades later, my daughter learned in a 141 school. Yeah, it's not the same. I've flown all of them, and it's not the same. Disagree. That's not true at all. Britt says, making money off the backs of your bros. I guess you write anything, you're all of a sudden profiting from everyone who's been around. Yeah, that's basically what they said. Because Spectre Rising was set in Homestead, that meant that everything that was there was somehow people got this weird idea that I wrote an autobiography. I'm here to tell you, no one has stolen an F-16 to my knowledge. or done dogfights with MiG-29s off the coast of Cuba. None of that stuff happened. It's all fiction. It's all made up. I made it up. So the idea that I needed permission to write a fiction book about no one is nonsense. Not yet. I need to flesh it out first. I need to figure it out. I need to start writing it before I start talking about it. Glad you enjoyed it. Wombat's got good books too. Awesome. Glad you're enjoying the Alex Shepard series, Michelle. Make it happen. So, Thag, Kindle Unlimited is based on pages read. So, like the Spectre series box set, books 1 through 4, because it has so many pages, because it's 4 books, that one actually would pay more than like the Spectre Rising by itself. Robin says, I need more books to read, so don't stop writing. Okay. That's the plan. So the interesting thing, some guy, about writing books is that it's going to be interesting to see if it becomes a niche because of AI. Because AI is pumping out books too. And if people start, wanting more non-AI content, right? But it's going to be tough to distinguish, and that's going to be a problem. Luna's great. She is not here right now. I don't know where she wandered off to, but she's good. What? Civilians fly single engine stuff in the air. Military does it in the simulator. About the only thing civilians beat you at, but it comes with a cost, stall spin, and no drag shoot. Where did you even get that? I've done single engine, like in the T-38. 100% of my single engine stuff was in a real jet. What? All of my civilian stuff, except for the Duchess, was in a simulator. The Duchess, we did it in real life because there was no simulator. But at the airlines, it's all simulator. In the military, it was all real life. A dogfight brother character? Nah, I'll leave that for the Chinese. Same thing happens in law enforcement. Mover knows, hater sabotage. That's correct. How is the police helicopter flying? Anything you can share? So I have not been flying much lately, but in January, that'll probably change. Volatile says, my suit 2 cents on Aviator. I think it highlights the importance of a stabilized approach. I don't know what they were doing. Like, sure, it does. I agree. But is that what they were trying to do? I can't answer that. Yes, they probably are bitter because it takes, especially if you're in the self-publishing world, it takes a lot of work, and a lot of people don't want to do the work. It's just a reality. People think that people have this idea that you write your book and you become a millionaire. You become, the next Stephen King or John Grisham or whatever. And maybe that's true if you're Jack Carr, and you write your book and you get, buddy of yours reads it, and then another buddy reads it. And next thing you know, you've got an Amazon series. That may be true. But if you're self-publishing in this world, there is a huge difference. There are people making, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 a month. There are people who never see more than, 10 sales. And it's because, one, in the self-publishing world, the quality control is the reader. So it depends on, I'm very thankful that most of my books have gotten fairly good reviews. I think they're all above 4 stars. My issue has just been advertising and marketing, but you have to do the work. There's no one's going to do it for you. And a lot of The in between is there's some traditionally published people that, well, they're on their own too. And it takes that kind of work. And yeah, you're not going to be rich if you're not out in front of people and getting the book read and sales and all that stuff. But to say that it's impossible and it's the way of the past, absolutely not. There are people that are doing it. It's just about doing the work. And it's like, I mean, that's life, really. If you don't want to do the work, you're not going to get the result. Or you get lucky. Scud Chat was great. I hope you guys ruined Dr. Strangelove. But it goes back to the movie ruins movie thing, right? A lot of work for a limited payoff that Amazon or YouTube no longer likes. Yeah, we talked about that. You should back up. We already went through all that stuff. Yes, that is the plan. For some reason, so the narrator contract for the first 2 books expired, and I was like, well, it's time to get a new narrator, and Audible has dropped the ball completely. So that has been held up, and as long as that's held up, that's why I haven't done Project Virtus yet. Probably digital, Amazon. I mean, Amazon's the only way it's there, but yeah. Mace's book is great. Read that one last month. Yeah, she tells me not to read it. She says it's not for me. I should read it. I have one. I think I have one. I wish that were true, but no, that is across the board. Must be human nature. Type A personality. Maybe eventually. I've done a handful of them and they didn't go well. So I felt like the door greeter when I tried to do it. But yeah. You do need to hustle. Yeah. It's just work. It's a job. You have to treat it like a job. You have to come up with a strategy. You have to spend money on marketing. It's not just going to happen. We'd love it to, but it's not just going to happen. How many accidents have you had? What does that even mean? Are you trying to do a pissing contest or something? Like, what is this? What do you, we have plenty of mishaps and I cover them on this channel in training aircraft all the time. Like what? I don't understand. What is, never mind. Okay. I don't care. See, this is another one. They're gonna be like, you're jealous. No, I just don't care. Like, it doesn't interest me. I don't think AI is a perfect dogfight pilot because I don't care. RB says it's also having the time to do the promotion work. If you're a writer who has to work a day job, it's not always lack of willingness, but lack of time. Yeah, exactly. Same thing. I mean, you're right, but you have to do it is my point. Whether it's because you are trying to pay the bills or it's because you don't want to, or you don't think you need to, or whatever, you just have to do it. And a lot of people, they don't do that. They don't make the time. They don't find the time. It just doesn't happen. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's really the ultimate goal, right? Is to get it into film or TV. I don't know about an autobiography. There's no third act yet. So that's the problem with an autobiography is I don't know how it ends. So still got to do that. Yeah. Let's see what else is shout out from Zimbabwe. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm trying to, it's not that I want to argue with him. I just want to understand what I want to understand what the point is, because you can't. Are you arguing that it makes you a better pilot because you're flying a crappier airplane? I mean, maybe, but the thing is, it's not whether the airplane's crappy or not. It's how fast your brain has to process it. In a T6, 300 knot maximum, cruising around at 250 knots is a lot different than 160 knots. It's a big difference. And then go to a T38 where your approach speed is 145 plus gas, 150 knots. Your final turn's 170 knots, 180 knots. Like you're in a world of difference as far as how fast things start happening and how dangerous it is. I mean, T-38 is probably one of the most dangerous training aircraft on the planet because of the thrust to weight, the skinny wing, just the ejection seat envelope, and when you're in it, when you're out it, it's tough. And I'm not knocking civilian training, but it's not the same at all. And it doesn't matter if it's just as good. It's the fact that it's not. We do things in accordance with AFI 11202, not the CFRs. So we need to teach pilots in accordance with what we actually fly, not FAA standards. It's different. PTS standards, different. It's just different. Let's see. Have you considered? I messaged Garrett on Instagram several months ago when he followed me on Instagram, and I got no reply. I did invite him on the Mover and Gonky show. So I got no reply, and I'm sure he's busy. I don't even know if he monitors that account. I'm not like bad talking him or anything, because he might, may just never have seen it. And I know, especially now, who knows, with what he's got going on. But he did follow me. I did message him and said, "Hey man, love to have you on." And no luck, but we'd absolutely love to have him on the Mover and Gonky show, or this channel. Hell, I'll do something with him, fly some helicopters or something. So that'd be fun. Race with him, hell. Absolute Vengeance would be a great movie. Yeah, horror series. Either way. Be confused. Part 141 multi-engine training is more dangerous than the flying you did as far as training. Part 141 deaths are far greater in that part of training. So the metric we're using is how dangerous something is. I just don't agree with that. I think if you look back at the history of what this is a stupid argument. Like, we're using deaths, the blood of aviators as our barometer for training quality. Like, that's nonsense. It's just dumb. Whether it's dangerous or not means nothing. It's not compatible with tactical flying. I get it. Your single engine aircraft doesn't have enough power to get itself out of the crash zone. Cool. But that's not how any aircraft in the Air Force flies. So, but your original statement was that we don't train emergencies in the air, which is false, because I have done single engine training in T-38s, F-18s. I've done flame out patterns in T-6s, ELPs is what they call it there, SFOs in the F-16. Of course, we do training and emergency procedures in the air. And of course, people have died doing training and emergency procedures in the air and in real life with actual emergencies in training aircraft. The challenges are much different, and the reason for mishaps is much different, but also the quality of training is different. I mean, it's realistically speaking, you're going to get a more consolidated, standardized training in the Air Force than you will Part 141, because Part 141, you can have an awesome school or you can have an absolutely abysmal, terrible school with low quality. And you don't know, takes all kinds. So, I mean, I reject this because it's silly. It's a nonsensical statement. The small country of Germany. I was just talking to a German friend of mine today, actually. Do I think World War III is coming soon? No, I don't. I hope not. Turning an expensive hobby into a money-making business? I wouldn't say writing books is an expensive hobby, but flying and racing? Yes. Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. Different policies, procedures. It's just different stuff. You got the military aspect of it. That's you don't just get to go home and it's just different. Thanks, Johnson. Although I'm still actually in the military, so I haven't made it to the post-military life yet. Thanks, Kate. Glad to see you. Hell, the mental workload from PBL to instrument world was a huge leap. And it's different. I mean, we don't even fly instruments the same way in the military as, civilian stuff. It's different. Now it's getting closer now. But when I went through pilot training, people who had instrument ratings in the civilian world struggled because it's just so much different. We just do different things. I'd love to. Sure. Yeah, it's trying to carve out time to write as a challenge. I'm working on getting a bigger screen for my computer and even Dragon Speak, though I'm not sure narrate. I was reading The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. Actually currently reading it. And last night I read a excerpt from it that said he knew an author that said just write 200 words. Didn't matter if it was garbage or not. His goal was just to write 200 words. And I guess the inspiration from that, because once you start writing, it kind of snowballs, is just get something on paper. And I've said that in the past where you just start writing, because what a lot of people do is the paralysis by analysis, and they will not want to write, or they'll write and then edit and then write and then edit and never get anything going. When I write, and what I tell people is write the thing. It doesn't matter how good or bad it is, and then fix it in editing. I mean, that's it. Because it's easier to carve a sculpture that exists versus having nothing as a basis. Holly says, are you part of Hurricane Hunter Squadron at Keesler? I'm part of the wing that is responsible for the Hurricane Hunters, but I do not fly for the Hurricane Hunters, and I'm not part of that squadron, but I am part of their wing. So the 53rd reports to the 403rd, and I'm at the 403rd wing. Puppy Mill, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Puppy Mill 141. Crikey. Happy holidays. Thanks. You guys had cool Hornets. So Bob says movie casting. I think John Krasinski, but he's in Clancy movies. Please don't say Wahlberg. Oh man, I don't know. Just anybody at this point. Angie says, just updated my list and ending the year with 70 flights this year. Where was your favorite destination flown this year? Didn't go anywhere. I was on medical leave for my kidney stone. So, and there's no such thing as, I don't like any airline destinations personally. I'm not an airline aficionado. I'm not in a squadron. I'm at the wing. I'm a IG. So I'm the inspector general of the wing. That's a good question. I don't know. I'm waiting for the board results. Could be today, next week, January, February. I don't know. The rate they're going, probably January. And if I don't, then that's when I'm going to retire. With a good career, I've already got 20 years, so. Sly says, in the Top Gun movie, you said during the dogfight, if he's giving you that much face full of jet, shoot it. Could you not circle on him? Is he using his energy state to recover from that movie? I don't know what circle on him means, but if he's giving you plan for him, I had a guy in my squad who's super experienced. If you know anything about offensive BFM, most people on an offensive 9K set, which is far away, you start offensive, won't shoot you right off the perch. They'll do maneuvering as you're supposed to and get into the control zone and shoot. But he would gun you, like he would do one reposition maneuver and gun you off the perch. And the reason he said that is because the jet would give you, because it was higher aspect, it would give you so much plan for him, it was an easier shot. Now, if you miss the overshoot, you overshoot like a big dog, right? You're immediately defensive. But he never missed. That was what was so good about it. So in that movie, that airplane is just basically parking itself with this big honking wide wingspan, which would be the easiest gunshot in the history. And so if you're in my HUD, Gonky says no free trips to the HUD. If you're in my HUD and I'm trying to gun you, I'm not just going to watch you fly by. I'm going to put the pipper on you and shoot you because I want this thing to be over as fast as possible. Movie magic, they had to keep it going, but realistically, should have been over right there, especially the way they were positioned. There was no tanker who almost crashed into JetBlue. There was a JetBlue pilot, and we talked about this on the other show, who complained about a tanker allegedly crossing through their altitude at 5 miles, which is not a near miss or a near hit by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, RVSM airspace, you pass within 1,000 feet of another aircraft. You're telling me that 5 miles. They were startled, didn't know that they were there. Obviously, there's some probably logistical issues, but to say that it was an almost crash is nonsense. Again, Doug, I agree with you. That's true. How did I get into book writing? So when I wrote when I was a kid, it was one of the coping mechanisms when my mom died, because I used to write short stories, and then I was writing for this like online news thing for virtual airlines of all things. And I started with a short story, and then I was like, well, I was reading Michael Crichton novels at the time and decided to try my hand at it. And what I would do is I'd write a chapter every day, print it out, put it on the coffee table or whatever, and my dad would read it and we'd talk about it. And so I wrote that book when I was like 13, 14. Wasn't really a book. It was only 40,000 words. So I guess it's technically the short end of a novel. And then tabled that, but always had a passion for it because I enjoyed doing it. And then when I was in Iraq, I was reading Vince Flynn novels for the first time. And I came back and my fiance was writing her own book. And so we're sitting at the couch and I'm like, well, hell, if she's going to write, I'm going to write too. I enjoy reading and writing. So I wrote like 5 chapters of Spectre Rising at the time, and things happened the way they did. And I ended up going to VFA 204. And when I came back, I had this long period of time where I didn't have a job, waiting for the transfer to finish, and I didn't have anything else to do. So I picked that book up and trashed the first 5 chapters that I had actually originally written and wrote Spectre Rising during that time. And then I wrote it and pitched it to like a couple agents and got rejected and was like, nope, this thing needs to be. We were talking about earlier was me, because I was the exact same way. I pitched it, thought that I was going to be a millionaire overnight. I was even joking about, what houses I would buy my parents and stuff like that once it was, I was famous. And so I was like, well, okay, I'll self-publish because this needs to be out. And so I self-published it, which I'm glad I did because I got my dad, I dedicated it to him in the author's note at the beginning. And it was good to be able to see him read it and give that to him before he died, because he died. I published it in September. He died in November. And then I wrote the second book kind of as a coping mechanism for that one. And yeah, once you get started, I guess you can't stop. And then it's just kind of been a thing ever since. If you're a kicker in the NFL, I don't know if you need this. Quick question. I'm joining reserve heavy unit. Is it financially viable to be a reserve bum until I get my 750? Yeah, you can. At least you used to be able to. It's going to depend on the unit and what they're doing real world, if they have orders and such. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Flying for the FAA, I don't know much about, but I encourage all the airlines aren't for everybody. I mean, I know we romanticize it, especially on social media, but if you want to be in your own bed every night, it's not really the best job in the world. There's some people that like it, but if you want to do something more meaningful, FAA would be just as cool to fly. I know they do a lot of, flight check stuff where they check ILSs and all that procedures and stuff like that. But if it's something you think you'd enjoy, then go do it. You don't think the airlines are the only way out there. What's up, Wombat? I don't know. Why weren't you invited? Thank you for the 20. 20 what? I was going to say invite Mike's weather page. Why? Weather? I don't know. I don't think so. Chile. MWP. Oh, because he's known by the. Yeah, no, that's getting too far off. No, that's too far away. JetBlue was just salty. Yeah. You start saying that's outrageous on the radio, then you're just emotional. Like, you got to calm down. Yeah, I'm with you. Okay, you're in airspace off the coast of a potential war zone that's been notamed. Whether it's painted or not, it still was not a loss of separation event. It startled them, but it's not newsworthy. That's it. Mover saying crikey in a surprisingly well. Thank you. I've been working on it. I don't think so. I mean, you got Boom Arrow doing their stuff. There's all kinds of developments going out there. I don't think it's becoming stagnant at all. Maybe the T6 training guy thinks no problem, which is unclear. Sam IFF receiver, but us 141 kids. Are you really just a kid? Because I done both, right? Like ATP, 787, 737. Been doing that since 2016. F-16, F-18, helicopters. I think I might have a resume for this. Kate Canada says, I will finish the 2 most important books before my races run. This is the end of the year. Motivation. Awesome. Good job. Hope you don't have to fly up here anytime soon. The weather sucks. That's for Wombat. Uncle Sam. That's true. I was a beginning author. I had not published. I was just a writer at the time. You're a writer until you're an author. Hey, Luna Bell. She says it's lunchtime. I got to wrap this thing up soon. Random question, but any advice on relationships in general, from friends to partners to anything? No, I'm the last person you want to ask that question. Anything I tell you, do the opposite. You should. Yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was. I thought it was cool. I mean, one of the cooler things I was able to do. I mean, flying over him in a Hornet, or bringing a Hornet to an air show where he was at, bringing an F-16 to an air show he was at, T-38 to have dinner with him. Yeah, like a lot of cool stuff I've been able to do. You never got to see me in the airline world, but yeah. Would you want to fly the F-47? Yes. Absolutely. I don't know what Fleet Air Arm is. Sounds fun, though. Oh, yeah. Thank you. It's gone by fast, man. I will tell anybody that is considering this job, enjoy every minute of it, even the sucky part, because it will be over in the blink of an eye, and you'll be wishing you can get back in. Hey, Mover, I'm also a fan of Airwolf. Did you know the German dub version calls Stringfellow Huckleberry? Really? I'm your Huckleberry. I didn't know that. That's funny. Nobody's forcing him, but, it's fun sparring. Sometimes people believe things, and whether they're right or wrong, it's different ideas. That's true. There are reports. What SIRS, the I mean, there's reporting, NASA report, all that stuff, but that doesn't mean anything. Like, that doesn't change anything. I mean, good job, Aviation Safety Reporting Service, ASRS. God bless America. Yeah, and that's we talked about that. I typically do have a problem with people that get emotional on the radio. I mean, when we did the Austin thing with the Hornets that passed the guy at the carrier break, and that was a misunderstanding between ATC and the Hornet guys, I thought that the NetJets dude was a little bit unprofessional. And I will say that, I mean, rule number one, look good, sound good on the radio. And if you're going to get emotional on the radio, know that everybody's listening in 2025 or 2020 or whenever that was. But you can take a beat. You're paid to be calm. You're paid to deal with stuff, and you don't have to freak out on the radio. It's easy. Let the other guy talk if you're going to have that problem. Also, 5 miles is not a big deal. Neither is 2, neither is 3. You ask any pilot, would you want to fly the X? Answer is always yes. I'm an airplane. Yep, exactly. Yeah, me too. Yeah. It's an inferiority complex is what it is. It's probably a CFI, if I had to guess. No real experience in the real world. No type ratings or anything like that. Corvette's great. Still doing well. I've had it long enough that the tires are about to age out, so I've got to start looking at that. Currently driving RDU to operate RDU to LGA 3 hours. Ugh. Yes, and I'm working on downsizing. Never got emotional and freaks out professional. Gave up my phone number playing for people. Yep. Yeah, I agree with you. Although I'd never want to get a phone number as a civilian from a air traffic controller. You get it from military, doesn't matter. That's not going to do much, but yeah. It's always taught to take a deep breath before you key the mic. Always have to be calm. Yep. Wombat, I don't know that that's true. I don't believe you. So, okay. Well, I think we've done enough of Mover Mailbag. What is this? An hour and 23 minutes. We'll do one more question, comment, or concern, and then we'll sign off because Luna is sitting at my feet talking. What did I miss? Did I miss old Robert? CC Pounder. Oh, yeah, I sure did. Keep guessing a little homie. Yeah, you're not a professional pilot, dude. Sorry. But you wish you were. And that's the lesson here, folks. It's always the people that never have that have the worst opinions. Thank you, Gundam Blade. I appreciate you. It's always fun and good to see you, Kate Canada. I did not get orders to get the 1776 bonus, but I'm glad people did. I mean, that's awesome. Hell yeah. They deserve it. Everybody working full time, especially in the last couple of months with all the shutdown stuff, they absolutely deserve it. And that's awesome. Yeah. That's true. Tell if you didn't see that, Wombat. You too, Kate and Chili. We'll see you when we see you. You guys have a great time. See you later. Gonna do an outro video. See you like. Bye.